Welcome back, everyone, to another Gear Talk. It's a Thursday. I've got a Hawaiian shirt on because the last time I've ever worn a Hawaiian shirt for these videos was the South Island discussion video. That was the third video I ever did for the Gear Talk series. I know because I had to go back and look at that to get some of the things cleared up for this video. It's been a while. We're going back to the South. I'm kind of excited about that because it's been a while since I could tackle every area of Sera again and talk about like the planet Sera, all the geography and everywhere. And it's nice to know that they're still putting more places in because when I did the South Island video, I had to see if any of these places were referenced. None of them were. Pahanu and Weilehi are completely not mentioned. And this video is mostly going to be about Pahanu because Weilehi, while we do go there, there's not much to talk about, especially when most of their story also takes place on Pahanu. So I'm not going to be covering a lot of Weilehi's stuff, so this video will probably be titled and talking about Pahanu, but anyone who's here for Pahanu, yeah, we'll take care of Weilehi too, don't worry. So yeah, let's jump into it and get started with some good old Pahanu information. Now a little heads up for everyone too, I do have a cold right now. I'm just getting over it, so it's not like I'm still sick. Well, I am, but I'm not bad. I'm not to the point I was a few days ago when I wasn't putting uploads or updates on Twitter, and I couldn't stand on my own. My girlfriend had to help me stand because my joints were so bad. Pahanu, tropical oceans, you've got lush greenery, like my shirt, pineapples and vegetation everywhere, and one of the deadliest places on the entire planet. As far as I am aware, I have covered the South Islands, and I have covered the Hollow. On the list I looked up, and I had to go to the wiki again. Always be careful on there, but I trust this one. The three deadliest places that are kind of tied for first: Pahanu, the Hollow, and the Serrano Ocean, which I need to do a video on the ocean. I will get to that. Then again, I saw that I said I was going to get to a Patrick Sultan video in the South Island video, and that was like, what, 4 years ago? So we'll get to it when we can. Someday. Anyway, it is considered to be one of the most deadliest places in the world. This is completely covered in jungle. It was abandoned by the tribe that lived there. And this is home to some of the deadliest creatures to ever exist on all of Sera. Like, there is it's called the Beast of Pahanu right now on the wiki. But there is a creature there so big and dinosaur-like, it could easily kill anything we have kind of met so far. Maybe about the same size as a Brumach, so maybe take out a few of those too. I'm guessing the Wakatu must have taken it down with its venom, but yeah. If you remember from the books, we have Vectis, and we also have Galangi. I can never say it right. It's another South Island. It is a part of the southern island chain, but at one point there is a giant trench that goes through, and it's so deep, like the Mariana Trench we have in our world, the locusts were unable to go through it. They weren't able to go deep enough and go around, so they never attacked these islands. At least they never attacked them through the ground. I'm certain, just like what we had in 3, they could easily create boats or ways through, and they could travel through, like what they did with the Maelstrom. They were unable to get on the island like normal. But that's a little different when it came to the swarm. But before we get to there, we'll talk about a bit more history of the islands, and then we'll get to what's currently happening in the current timeline of Pahanu. Before we get to what we're currently talking about with the swarm, we gotta jump a long way back. We're going to the Silver Era, which was it's a ways back. This was back, was this back during the time of quote-unquote the Knights and Wizards? I need to double check that. I need to do a timeline history of all of Sera one of these days. I really need to. We go back to the Silver Era, and this is when we have all the tribes on the South Islands. Now, the tribes have never really developed in technology-wise. They've always stayed how they are. And this does not change for Pahanu. The Pahanu tribe, that we never get a name for their tribe. We just know them as Weilehians later on because they're found on Weilehi. The Pahanu tribe originally started off there, built their civilization, and they were living off of their hunky-dory, and then they left for some unknown reason. I'm going to assume that has to do with all the plant growth and the venomous things that are found there and the giant apex predators. That might be why they left. They did build structures and everything, but I'm assuming it must have got to the point where they said, we can't deal with this anymore, we have to leave. Because it doesn't state why they left. but I'm assuming they left because everything was just so hostile. So they left to Weilehi, where everything is a lot nicer, calmer. The vegetation is still somewhat like Pahanu, but it's probably not as bad. So that's where you currently find them over there. And they had the tradition on the island and on Weilehi of going and sending one of their children that were going in to become a man to hunt down the Wakatu and then fight it. Now, a sign of success is you gain one of its feathers and return to the village. The other kind of not good result was you die. You are dead. That was just a normal, you died. And your village accepted it. So that's how the ritual went. The rite, the awakening, I believe. They went over to Weilehi and they did the same thing. You take a boat over and come back. But after a while, the ritual also fell out of... It fell out of time with like how they were not progressing, but as time went on. And they kind of said, maybe not a good idea to send our people off to death. Because at this point, they're on the island. They don't even know if they're going after the Wakatu anymore. And as time goes, it becomes a myth. They still know of the Wakatu, but it's like the boogeyman. That's how they see it. It's like, it could be a myth, like this giant bird that releases gases that give you spirit visions, which is actually the fumes from its venom. That's kind of how it ended up. They said that we don't even know if it's real anymore. And later on, we do see that some people are actually still thinking of going through and doing this rite or this passage. That's kind of what you get from the tribe that was there. They left because of how dangerous it was. And then you have Pahanu, now, up until the Cog come in, completely abandoned. Everything is overtaken by the wildlife. The wildlife, Mother Nature, has come in and said, this is mine now. Just like many of the islands we have nowadays. Well, not even most of the islands. Like Chernobyl. Chernobyl is one of those things. Nature is taking over again. Now, like I said, when it came to the Cog, they came later on. Well, just like the Cog, they like to come in everywhere and stick whatever they want, their nose or their guns in someone's business. So that's exactly what they did. They went over to Pahanu, and I'm guessing they wouldn't have cared if the Weilehi tribe was still there or not. But the Weilehi left a long, long, long time ago to go to Weilehi. The Weilehians, I guess they are. The Weilehians left a long time ago. When they go over to Pahanu, they notice the volcano there, which I should mention that. There is a giant active volcano on this island. A giant boom kind of volcano. But just like the Cog, they don't really care about what's going on in the area, so they go over and they decide to build Sanctum. Sanctum is meant to be a failsafe bunker. If Jacinto and Azura were to completely go, if they were gone, this is one of their failsafe ideas. Or at least I should say it was, because again, it ran on thermo energy, which is kind of the heat from the volcano. They built that thing pretty much next to it. And of course, they don't care about anything, so when they build it next to the volcano, they don't even check to see what the situation on the volcano is, to see that it is a very active and very dangerous volcano that can blow. It is very unstable, and they have their entire last of humanity built next to it. I brought it up before. It is so stupid. Anyway, they decided they're not going to do it. After finishing like 95% of the damn thing, they decide maybe this isn't a good idea. Now we get into the current stuff going on over at Pahanu, or at least the most current events that happened. As of the comics even, the only thing that happened, because the games take place all over it, so aside from the games, the comic has like, I don't know, one chapter focused on it, and that's it. Because that takes place right after the very end of Hivebusters, so it's going to be a quick one from here on out. Pretty much with Sanctum even, it became a burial site for the Locust because they figured, we're not using Pahanu, and if the volcano explodes, what's it really going to do? What, it's going to kill them? Oh no, it's going to melt them away. So they go through and they decide to use it as a burial site, and they put a lot of them in there too. Like I don't remember the number, but it's like 500,000 something metric tons is placed in there, which I don't know how heavy the cocoons are, but I'm guessing it's a lot. So they go and bury them there, and of course they start hatching, and originally they are stuck on Pahanu, because again, locusts and swarm can't swim. So they're on the island, and they set up the nest, or the hive. They set up the hive, and at this point too is when the wildlife starts taking notice of this. Mainly the Wakatu. The Wakatu is not happy that there are now other predators on its island. And there are other predators other than the Wakatu, too. Like the giant beast of Pahanu, that skeleton isn't a fossil. That thing's probably died in the past 100 years. I'm guessing. So there are other predators, but the Wakatu is like the big dog. So the Wakatu notices this and takes action and starts getting hostile more than often, because it's a pretty hostile bird, and starts wiping out Swarm just as it feels, as it sees them. Now, this is also when the Hive Busters are there, and it's kind of like, okay, a three-way death battle is going on here. Yay for us. But as the events go, they destroy Sanctum. Sanctum was a hive destroyed, but we end up learning in the comics that they would still technically be alive, the stragglers that weren't inside the hive. So they are still active on the island. And also Weilehi, because the lava tunnels do connect. That's how they were able to abduct Hana and abduct the other villagers on Weilehi and return to Pahanu through the tunnels. There are underground tunnels that go in between the islands. I don't know if it's all of them, but it is definitely those two because of the active volcano. Now, again, they're still on Pahanu. What are we going to do? They could rebuild the hive. I'm very certain that the Wakatu's gone through and has started just wiping them out left and right as much as it feels it needs to. I have a good feeling the Wakatu is doing a pretty good job on the island. Just free food, let's just pick it off and start killing it. That's probably, or I don't even think it eats. Oh, it could eat them. In the nest you see bones and you also see their weapons. They could possibly be eating them. I don't know how that would taste. I'm guessing very gooey. And that really is everything about Pahanu. It's very lush, very green. One of the most beautiful areas ever shown in all of Gears. It is, like, when you play the DLC, it openly comes up now and then to you seeing the entire island kind of just on a plateau, and you see all the greenery, and you see the tree on where you can find the Wakatu in its nest. It is one of the best visuals I've ever seen. It is the best visual I've seen in Gears of War. I can't think of anything else that would beat that moment when you see all of that, like on a visual level. The closest I have is in Judgment with that burning tree. For me, that was like a big, like, oh my goodness, like, it's beautiful. That's how I thought with the island. It's a beautiful island. Everything is perfectly done. And yeah, that's really it. Like, I covered most of like how like everything operates in the South Island video. There's no reason to talk about how the tribes operate. I've already talked about it, and it's the exact same as everyone else. The only difference is this is a specific tribe that traveled from one island to the other, and they have a connection to the Wakatu because of their ritual. That's it. That's all. So that's going to do it. I busted this one out. I went through and I was doing everything and realized I have not talked about the island that this entire game is based on. So I figured I have to talk about it. It was a last minute one I put in. I got the notes made and everything, but as you can see, I didn't have much to work with. Like, it's the layout of the game. It's the first time it was mentioned, and this game is like hours long. Like, not long, like 1 act long. That's all I got. So thank you guys for watching. We'll get to, I think I got 3 more videos left in the tank. I'm doing a countdown after all of these at this point because we're getting close to the end. So thank you guys for watching. I want to thank everyone for making this possible. Thank the patrons for making this possible. I'm always a fan if you want to subscribe. I'm not against it. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Later.